Our next story brings us to this park in Creve Coeur. It has a playground and tennis courts and a playing field. It also has a story that is worth telling, and it has a name that is definitely worth remembering. On Saturday, September 19th, people came for the rededication of the park now named for Dr. H. Phillip Venable, a park that was originally created to keep him from living here. This event and the renaming of this park is not really righting a wrong. It's too late for that. But it is one community's acknowledgement of just how wrong it was.
Today we take one step toward correcting the past injustice as we come together to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Venable and his incredible contribution to the St. Louis community.
It was important that members of the late Dr. Venable's family were today welcome to the place where he was not. Gabrielle takes a look back.
Dr. Howard P. Venable was a trailblazer from the very start.
And at one time, he was one of only 5 black ophthalmologists in the world.
His surviving nephew and nieces say giving up was not in his vocabulary.
He was so much more than a story about his house and his land. I mean, if you think about it, he was a real pioneer and trailblazer.
And they loved that about him.
And my Uncle Howard was way ahead of his time.
Dr. Venable was born in Ontario, Canada. His family relocated to Detroit when he was just a kid, and medical school would bring him to St. Louis.
Oh, well, Homer Phillips. There were very few places. It was only Howard and Homer Phillips really where blacks could go to internships and especially in the specialties.
But he wanted to be an ophthalmologist. And once he achieved that, he wanted to settle down and buy a home in Creve Coeur.
And instead of buying 1 lot, we bought 2.
This was April of 1956, but there was an issue.
They decided that they didn't want people of color in the neighborhoods.
They, meaning the mayor and some of the neighbors, and they pulled out all the stops.
He was down to the final permit, which was a plumbing permit, and that got denied. And then, as my brother said, they went through the courts and declared, said they needed a park and had it declared eminent domain and took it from him.
He tried to sue several times, but ultimately he lost.
And then they ended up finishing the house, which was almost completed, and used it as a clubhouse. It's just terrible how a person could love a place and the place don't love you.
Decades later, the Venable family would receive a phone call. The Creve Coeur City Council was set to vote on whether or not to rename the park in Venable's memory. That resolution passed.
And it was absolutely packed. We were able to have a video of it, and we were able to present a statement that day.
It's sad and you're happy. You're happy that it's finally getting the recognition and somebody pulled the cover off of it and let the light shine.
But the family says that cannot be the end.
It kind of gave us a little bit of closure because we knew the story and we've been living the story all our lives.
We are happy about it, but we also don't want it to just be a one-off.
Not only did their statement call for renaming of the park, but they also asked for a memorial in their uncle's honor, an annual day of recognition, philanthropic contributions in his name, reparations, and more.
That there be either some kind of land grants or some kind of assistance to BIPOC people to purchase land or property in Creve Coeur.
To better understand Creve Coeur's involvement, we sat down with City Council member Heather Silverman.
I think it's really important that we validate that past and what happened and the implications that it has on people's lives today, as well as the implications on our community in terms of generational wealth, opportunity for individuals, as well as opportunity for communities.
Much like the Venable family, Silverman says there's much more work to do.
It was really important to me that we not only rename the park, right? Because renaming it would just, in some ways, wipe it away, the history, but that we also somehow remember what happened here and do something about it. So the resolution that renamed the park also created a task force, and the task force is currently working on the rededication event.
She says it's also important to recognize stories like these span generations.
This park, it's not like it was the only situation. It was part of a trend that was happening in this region and in the country.
In the end, the Venable family says they want people to remember who their uncle was.
He didn't become bitter about it. He didn't let that deter him. He built his house in Baldwin Hills and he continued on.
They want people to know his story, and that his story is everyone's story.
American history includes the history of African Americans in this country. It's not a separate thing. And this is a great American story.
I'm just glad that it's being brought to light. My uncle, Dr. Howard Venable, just wanted the same option as his peers and colleagues. He just wanted to be treated fairly and seen as a man who was contributing to his society and raising his family a loving community.
At the conclusion of the rededication, a proclamation was read. It included not just the what, the naming of the park, but the why.
And whereas the community and city leaders acknowledge and declare that the city used the power of eminent domain in connection with the creation of the first city park, the city acted at the urging and direction of people whose ulterior motive was the exclusion of the Venables from the city due to their race.
Family members received plaques with that proclamation. But the intent is that this story, which the family has long lived with, would now be shared as everyone's history.